With each day that passes, new evidence against YNW Melly is revealed. As reported by Complex today, they stated a new piece of evidence saying, and I quote, "There is one Instagram exchange that took place hours after the passings, which was obtained by Complex via a public records request." Now in it, YNW Melly's Instagram account says, "I did that," in one message, followed 2 minutes later by another message saying, "Shh." Now the time of these Instagram DMs will be used by the state to make the case that those messages amount to an admission by YNW Melly of his guilt. Not long afterwards, the recipient of those messages tells YNW Melly it's a Sig 9 on the market, meaning the state will likely claim that a Sig 9 is a firearm, as YNW Melly replied to him saying, "I want it." In these same court files, they claim as a possible motive, the lead detective on this case said in a deposition that YNW Sakchaser was set to receive around $200,000 from his record label. Now the police attempted to subpoena 300 Entertainment during their investigation in order to investigate this, but the detective explained that the company refused to honor our subpoena. YNW Sakchaser's mom, Jana Thompson, expanded on the $200,000 payment in a March 2022 deposition. Though she specified that she didn't know exactly who the alleged payment was from or who it was for, she said that her son reached out to her a few days before he passed. She says, and I quote, "My son hysterically called me. She said he was very concerned about my whereabouts. He was concerned about his sister's whereabouts. He was concerned like something is gonna happen to us. And he told me that he would not be getting his money." She continued saying, "He said, I'm probably not gonna get my $200,000. I'm probably not even going to get my money, ma." Now following that conversation with YNW Sakchaser's mother, we see YNW Melly's lawyers ask Sakchaser's mom this. "Now I would like you to tell me what information you have gathered to show that this felony was committed for a pecuniary gain." Now Sakchaser's mother then replies, "Please tell me what your definition of pecuniary gain is." Melly's lawyers say, "By statute, it means he committed this crime to make money." With Sakchaser's mother's lawyers replying, "Well, there was, as you know, in throughout a search warrant through Facebook, as well as through Jana Williams' testimony, there was money that was being brought to or was going to be awarded to Anthony Williams, aka YNW Sakchaser, as Mr. Williams was supposed to get $200,000. This was in text messages and also I believe in Facebook messaging, as well as the mother's testimony, and that money apparently was never obtained by Mr. Williams. With YNW Melly's lawyers replying, "Okay, do you know who was going to allegedly pay that $200,000 to Mr. Williams?" With them replying, "Well, I believe it was gonna come through the music label. How it's paid out, I don't know." Now around the time of YNW Sakchaser's passing, his music career just started taking flight. Dropping hit songs such as Tropical and Backend, it got the attention of YNW Melly and his music label. According to records, they claim that YNW Melly did this act towards YNW Sakchaser to avoid paying him $200,000 to join his record label. Now if this turns out to be true, YNW Melly will be eligible for the penalty, as he used money as a motive for this act. This explains why the prosecutors stated they are no longer interested in putting YNW Melly behind bars for life anymore. Instead, they want the penalty, as the parents of YNW Juvie and YNW Sakchaser want justice for what happened to their boys. Now after this was released in the courtroom, YNW Melly's mom and YNW B Slime were featured on a podcast on YouTube. This is titled We in Miami Podcast. While being featured on the show, the host asks YNW Melly's mom this question: "How's YNW Melly holding up while in jail?" She replies, "He's doing good. He always calls, and he's always in good spirits." He then asks, "When can we expect YNW Melly to come home?" After some awkward silence in the room, she replies, "May. But if a grand jury is picked fast, then April." Now YNW Melly had a court hearing at the beginning of March. As seen from this photo, YNW Melly doesn't really look like YNW Melly anymore. As YNW Melly's reaction in court from witnesses that were there, he seemed nervous and only spoke with his lawyers, showing no attention to his family and friends that that were sitting in the viewing area on the side of him. Now, YNW Melly in court at the time was told that his case was being pushed back to May 23rd, but during this hearing, the prosecutors gave the judge originally 66 pages of new evidence against Melly. This evidence booklet featured GPS evidence, ballistics reports, and even a confession video from YNW Melly. But sadly, fast forward to March 17th, prosecutors then drop another 178 pages of evidence against YNW Melly from witnesses and all of the stuff YNW Sakchaser's mother said earlier. Here's a bit more of the exclusive evidence that they were shared in court. Now, prosecutors are claiming after running ballistics reports, all signs of who did the act towards YNW Juvie and YNW Sakchaser were sitting where YNW Melly was in the vehicle. Now, here's the photo of where everyone was sitting inside of the car. YNW Bortlen, being the driver of the vehicle on this day, had Melly sitting behind him with Juvie and Sakchaser on the opposite side. Now, using what's called the stick method, a law enforcement agent would then sit where YNW Melly was sitting and use long plastic sticks to match the trajectory of a firearm that could have been used from where he was sitting. Now, it turns out the trajectory from YNW Melly's seat shared a perfect match to where YNW Juvie and YNW Sakchaser were affected once they were finally brought to the hospital. Also, in the new evidence reports, it claims that after the act was done inside of the vehicle, they were able to use YNW Melly's cell phone as a GPS tracking device. Now, YNW Melly's cell phone alone has been giving the law enforcement more evidence in this case than any other rapper-related court case in history from a single cell phone. From law enforcement being able to use Melly's cell phone as a GPS tracking device, to being able to go onto his social medias, to look through his DMs on Instagram and Facebook, to even going through his photos, where a alleged video of YNW Melly literally confessing to doing it was there. But with law enforcement using Melly's phone as a GPS, they were able to see YNW Melly walking around in a weird circle motion around the time law enforcement believes the act was done. Now, the theory is, after the act was done, YNW Melly stepped out of the vehicle. He then used his firearm to rough up the car from the outside, making it appear as if the vehicle just went through a drive-by. Now, this would be YNW Bortlen's excuse as to why Juvie and Sakchaser passed when he brought them to the hospital, as YNW Melly ended up sprinting home on foot after the incident. Now, it's very strange as to why YNW Melly didn't go to the local hospital with his two best friends who just sadly passed. Instead, he sprinted home. Now, YNW Melly's official reaction during all of the court hearings he has had, it has gone from looking very confident in every single one to eventually looking very concerning, as we saw YNW Melly not really looking like Melly in the courtroom, and even a very concerning mugshot where you can't tell if it's maybe just the quality, but YNW Melly looks very concerning. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'm out. Peace.